Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jonathan, and in today's video we're going to try to speed run fixing the clunk in the LS400. So whenever you put it into reverse, and especially when you shift it quickly into drive, the car will sometimes thunk extremely hard. And doing a bit of research on it, it seems like one of the main culprits is the transmission mount. So this is a crazy looking assembly here, and you can kind of see, I'll get it out of the bag in the moment, but this is not terribly difficult to swap. So we're going to try to speed run that. I actually have to leave in about an hour and a half. I have to take this car, so this is a little bit risky, but we're gonna send it, and I don't think we're gonna run into any big problems. And we'll find out pretty much immediately if this thing makes a difference. So this is the first of many OEM parts to come. Like I mentioned, my mission with this car is to make everything as OEM as possible. So this is the first of many, like I said. I have a whole slew of front suspension components and hopefully most of the rear suspension on its way from Japan. And so we're gonna get a whole lot of that here in the near future. So make sure you're subscribed if you're interested in seeing this LS see a fresh suspension front to back, everything brand new and as OEM as possible. Almost everything on this car will be OEM. So it's gonna be pretty much the most sorted LS400 Celsior, in this case Toyota Celsior, that there is on the road today in the US and A. I know you already saw it in the other clip, but man, every single time that I do that, sometimes it's not as bad as others, but I'm basically standing on the brakes and I still get that boom. So hopefully this is going to at least help it. I don't think it's going to fix it. I think our rear suspension bushings, being as shot as they are a big contributor to this, but I'm really hoping that this at least is, you know, one positive thing. I'm going to go ahead and swap this, and then when the other ones come in a few weeks, fingers crossed, it'll also help as well. All right, so the car is jacked up on all four sides, and if we come under here, the transmission crossmember is right there. So all we need to do is just hold our transmission with our jack and a handy dandy 2x4. As you can see, we just bring down those crossmember bolts, and then the assembly, you can see actually the other one's right there in the middle of your screen. That is where that transmission bushing is gonna kind of live, insulator as Toyota refers to it. So let's get this transmission supported and get this thing out of here and see what we can do. So, as you can see, I got the transmission supported here with just a simple 2x4. Got one of the bolts out, so let's go ahead and zip the rest of these out. It was a little more tricky than I had anticipated because I didn't think about the fact that I had a straight 2x4 and it would hit the exhaust pipes here, so no big deal, we made it work. Hopefully this doesn't fall on my face. Let's get a little bit more pressure on this jack just to be sure. There we go. All right, now I can see it lifting up slightly, so that's good. So there's that. Then we need to get these out, and of course those are a smaller size, naturally. I'll be right back. So these days, I'm just of the opinion that I'm gonna bring all the sockets. I'm not gonna mess around with what sizes they are. I really don't wanna have to get up and out of here a bunch of times. So we're working with the 14 before. These look a lot smaller. They are gonna be a 12. Yes, sir, indeed. There we go, cross member down. I only can see one of my 4 bolts, so we'll see how that goes. And then we can get the bushing out of here really easy. Oh, one of them's in my socket, that'll work. So I wanted to give you a visual of what that bushing actually looks like. So here is what I assume is original, factory one, and it doesn't look quite as bad as I thought it would. I fully expected to see it be split in half, or sometimes these assemblies are like the bonding agent is just gone. Oh gosh, exhaust pipe's hot. And so yeah, I was expecting this to see worse, but I just wanted to show you how this is all kind of put together. So hopefully now you can sort of get a visual for how this is all up there. Let's go ahead and get this beast out of here. All right, so that was actually pretty easy to do. If you have even just basic hand tools, you don't even need an impact gun like I was using. So let's just kind of compare these side by side. And I mean, look at the height difference. That's actually pretty substantial. You can see just how squished and kind of cockeyed those bushings are. Just looks a lot more squished. So I don't know that this is exactly as bad as I was expecting it to be, but this part from the dealer shipped was only 47 bucks. That's not bad. And so it's just really gonna be worth it. I mean, this one just looks to be in a heck of a lot better shape. Like I said, sometimes these bonding agents that are on these kind of like top plates I believe it's on this portion right here, actually will fully separate. But I think this is just still worth doing, especially side by side. You can really see it's a pretty substantial difference. Okay, so I got the bushing up there finger tight, but I was just looking, and look at this scrape on the exhaust. Oh my God. It's just like, I know people like their cars dirt nasty, and my E46 is not quite dirt nasty, but it's pretty low. But man, it's really a bummer when you see the scrapes from it being so low. So we are gonna get that fixed. This car is not gonna live low like this. This is gonna get back to OEM fresh. Naturally, I had to come all the way around to the opposite side of the car to find the one missing nut, but we're almost there. Get the bushing back to the cross member. Those were not very tight, so just a couple ugga-duggas is all they need. All right, then let's get the big bolts threaded back up to get the cross member back into the body. Oh, this might be a little tough, a little crooked here. All right, so turns out if you put it in the correct way, that helps a lot, because the bolt holes are lined up on all four sides when you put in the cross member the right way. Who would have thought? So I had to put the wood block a little bit back on this cross member to push up the bushing, because otherwise I just couldn't get the one side in at a time. I was really fighting that new bushing to try and push it up all the way. So once I got that, I got 3 of the 4 bolts in. I gotta get the other one started, tighten them down, then I can lower the pressure off the jack and we'll be done. That's what I call torqued. No, just kidding. I need to look up the actual torque spec and go back and do it properly. But I just needed to get that up there because once the bolts are in and threaded, it's not that big of a deal. It was just super difficult to get them up there. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't putting, any undue pressure. And actually, the way that I got it threaded in by hand, the impact helped me pull it back up. So now I can take the pressure off the jack and we can test this. All right, so our handy dandy wood block did its job. Let's go ahead and get that out of there. If I can break this jack loose by hand. All right, our transmission did not come careening down out of the car. Everything looks good. I can't even begin to tell you how tightly I have my fingers crossed that this works. Let's get it off the ramps here and check it out. Alrighty, car is back on the ground. Let's put it in reverse and let's see what it does. Hopefully this comes through on camera. So still a little bit of a buck. Let me roll back a bit. And then let's put this bad boy in drive. Normally neutral doesn't do anything, but drive is really where it clunks. There's still a pretty good clunk, unfortunately. There's sometimes, let's sit here and see for a second. Sometimes I can feel like sort of a harmonic resonance as I'm sitting here in park, where it's just like, there's this very light, like, and it's not the engine. It's just like a resonance through the car. And I'm not feeling that. It feels very smooth. If it looks like it's shaky, it's because of my hand. But let's go down the road real quick and just see. I want to see what it feels like. So the clunk isn't as bad, but as I've said before, whenever it does clunk, typically if the car's warmed up or if it's warm in the daytime, it's actually not as bad. So as we're driving around, could just be placebo, but it feels a little tighter. I mean, that bump felt better. I don't know. Let's see. Let's take this turn here. There's a pretty decent bump on this guy. Right here, this road. I know we're not really dealing with suspension components, but I mean, that feels tighter, honestly. It definitely feels like less just sort of like, I don't know, just loose. So I know that the transmission crossmember, people say, does make the car feel substantially better and different. And as of right now, I think I would have to concur. It just definitely feels a little bit tighter and a little bit better. So, if that's what we got, then that's great. Pretty happy with it. So I mean, honestly, like if the difference that I'm feeling now, it's really hard to convey. It does feel quite a bit better. Again, it could be placebo, but I do think it feels better. My point being that when we swap all these front suspension components out, it's going to be dramatically better. It's going to be so much better. All right, so we're going to go out to the highway and give her a little punch, see if there's anything noticeably different. Let's take a look. All right, here we go. Usually when I let off, there was a bit of a clunk. Yeah, that's better. That's way better. It just feels so smooth, man. It's crazy. How does one transmission crossmember make that big of a difference? It's so wild. Really, really wild. I am just so impressed. I mean, really, you know, I didn't even gun it that hard, honestly. I didn't really mat it. That was probably like half or 3/4 throttle. Let's give her another little rip ski on the way back. All right, y'all. About to give her hell. Do it for Dale, baby. Hell yeah. Woo, little front end clunk there on that U-turn. Fully matted, here we go. Sheesh. Yeah, she fucking rips, boys. It's crazy. I would never, ever, ever have bet that made such a big difference. Wow, that's really wild. Well, that very much was a speed run indeed. This is one of those rare cases where you set out to do a particular project or work on something and it actually goes as smoothly as you anticipated it would. So about 45 minutes all in, including, you know, jacking up the car, doing a little bit of a test run, and like I, you know, reacted in the test drive, it really did make a very substantial difference. It just feels a little bit less loose and kind of floaty. Sort of when I let off the gas, it doesn't have as much of like a sort of, it doesn't feel like it releases as hard. I guess that bushing is just absorbing a lot of that sort of driveline shock when you're letting off the gas, especially under hard acceleration. So really, really pleased with that. Like I mentioned, I have a ton of OEM suspension components coming. Full front end refresh, full rear end refresh, all the way around. We're gonna do basically everything to get this car driving like an absolute gem, just like the Toyota engineers from the early 90s intended. So if you're looking forward to that, please consider subscribing. As always, my name is Jonathan. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.